Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome back to episode 6.
Yeah.
We're at 6?
Mm-hmm. Episode 6. We're flying through this podcast
I know. I see what you did there.
Fly. I didn't even mean to do a pun.
Please leave. This is Travel Talk with Grant and Marissa. And today we're going to be talking about holiday travel because it's that time of year somehow already.
It's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
We ourselves have some holiday travel planned.
So excited.
Yeah. So we wanted to basically just go through how to best prepare for holiday travel. Yeah. And I think when making our list for this, we kind of decided there was sort of main two sort of buckets to this. Mm-hmm. A planning side.
Yeah.
And day of while we were traveling, things to keep in mind or things to do.
Yeah.
So I think most of these things are useful all the time, but I think they become especially critical over the holidays.
Yeah.
When emotions are high, more people than ever are traveling, and even particularly this year, like if you are in the US too, there's a whole bunch of extra chaos going on with extra flights being canceled and all that kind of stuff. So I think preparing as best as you can to avoid any issues
is going to really come in clutch and help not just you, but those around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with the planning part and the before you get there. Mm-hmm. And as a little caveat to this, when we're thinking of holiday travel, we're talking specifically airline travel.
Yeah.
Mostly when it's a holiday weekend, we are getting out of Dodge and going overseas. But we know that's not the reality for most people. So we tried to think of this in terms of both international and domestic travel. But we're not going to be talking about road tripping because that is a whole other thing that we have also done for the holidays previously.
For sure.
But we're going to be talking about air travel specifically.
And I think because you kind of already mentioned it, it was a little further on our list, but we can talk about it now. The first point is consider traveling internationally over the holidays instead of domestically.
Yeah.
Because this is something we've done for many years now. Obviously, not everyone can do this. Like, if you do have family commitments, you have to spend time with certain loved ones or whatever over like Thanksgiving and Christmas, whatever it may be. We instead like to travel over those times because it adds a little extra perk, I feel. Like, traveling internationally, we found is generally a little cheaper, a little quieter, and it's a lot less stressful because you're kind of avoiding the domestic craziness of travel. Yeah. Right?
But we also realize that is not doable or possible for everybody. So in this video, we're going to kind of be in the middle of that Venn diagram.
The tips we're going to give here, aside from obviously this one, are sort of useful for people traveling domestically or internationally. Yeah. But I think the first one just to mention is, have an open mind if you're open to traveling, if you're free to travel over the holidays. Think about going overseas. Like, even just last week's podcast, we went to Dubrovnik in the winter over Christmas. And it was one of the coolest trips we've ever done. Yeah. Because it was at a time where not many other people travel.
We went to Scotland last minute over Thanksgiving. We planned that like 2 weeks before we went.
Yeah, and we've been to Dublin over Thanksgiving as well. Yeah. And we've done quite a bit of. We usually travel somewhere either Thanksgiving or Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it's been Thanksgiving recently, right?
Okay. So the first section, we're going to talk about planning.
Yeah.
And this is really where Grant shines. So take it away.
Yeah, I love a good travel planning.
You do.
And so we are always very over-planned in terms of what we do, where we go. Not necessarily with like the itinerary. Yeah. Like, not like the things we're doing in each place, but in terms of like
being organized.
Organized. And I think general of thumb, normal travel stuff, obviously, we're not going to talk about the normal things. Like, you've got to book a hotel and you've got to book a flight ahead of time, obviously.
Did you know that you have to do that?
Yeah.
That's news to me.
Obviously, you have to do that. But we're going to talk about more of the things you might have to plan a little differently ahead of these holiday times, right? So I think the first one we can talk about is packing.
Okay.
I think packing in general, if you've been frequent viewer of this this podcast series, you'll know we're very much checked bag people.
Yes.
Carry on as a like backpack.
Yep.
Like keeping it simple. I think some people might think the opposite over holidays, like, oh, like I don't want the stress of checking a bag or whatever. Where I think you are as well, of the vein of like, I would almost even more like go down the checked bag, like small carry-on item over holidays, because like you want as little stress as possible over the holidays. Other people are super stressed. There's way more people out flying.
Yeah.
And you don't want like fights over overhead bin space and like, or you find you can't, like the airports are really crowded and you have to drag your suitcase through all the crowds, or if you have tight layovers, things like that. So
especially if you are traveling as a family and you've got little kids, it's just more stuff to worry about. Just eliminate that.
Yep.
Air tags are your friend.
Yeah,
or tile.
That's another one. Yeah, like make sure you get like something like an air tag or a tile or whatever it is to relieve a little bit of that stress of not knowing where your bags are when they're checked, and that just removes all that. Because like I think removing stress is the key factor.
Yeah, that's really the theme of this episode, is how to remove the stress as much as possible. Yeah, especially over holiday travel.
Yeah. So I think so just you could obviously pack pretty normally, but I would say just like err on the side of like maybe just check a bag, remove stress, just have your essentials with you.
Yeah.
Next one is pre-booking
all the things,
or like doing as much as possible, even things you may not normally think you need to do when you go on a normal trip.
Yeah.
Right?
And we recognize if you are watching this in November of 2025, it might be too late for some of these things, but if you're watching this in 2026, you're golden.
So I think like this under this bucket are things like, the most obvious one is if you need to get time off approved for work, don't do it like a week or two before, like Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever it be. Like do it like 6 months in advance.
I put that stuff off in July.
Like just everyone else is going to be vying for that time off. So take it, let's get it off early. But then other logistic things like we do are we book parking at the airport like way before, like months in advance, because like just in case. I've never had it run out, but we always do pre-book.
We've had it be close. There's times we've had to park on the roof.
Yeah. So pre-book parking at the airport, or if you don't drive to the airport, pre-book if you can your transportation to the airport. So whether that's like pre-book your Uber or Lyft. You can pre-schedule Ubers and Lyfts. I think it can't be too far in advance. So you can do it like the day before or whatever. But like think about pre-scheduling one of those just to take that stress out, or just like make sure, or like if you catch a train or whatever, public transport, make sure the timetables are are the same when you're like going on these holiday dates. Make sure there's not like a weird adjusted schedule. Like just make sure all that stuff is like locked in and there's no surprises.
Yeah, and tangentially related, if you have to book pet boarding, again, do that when you book your time off, because those facilities also will fill up very, very, very quickly.
We often will get emails and stuff from our boarding place where we board the dogs. They're like, hey, get in early.
And I'm like, I did that months ago. Y'all know they're coming.
So just err on the side of caution here, right? Yeah. And just pre-book things as much as possible, because it gets a little crazy.
It gets a little nuts.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be caught out.
Yeah.
The next one, this is really a you thing, but travel insurance. If you don't have travel insurance, get some. If you do have it, just make sure it's up to date, in date.
Yeah.
You know how to access it, all that good stuff. Just in case anything does go sideways, you are prepared.
There's more likelihood for flights to get delayed or canceled.
Especially in 2025.
So, especially right now, so not having to rely purely on the kindness of the airline to reimburse you is nice to know that you can get like trip delay insurance and stuff like that. At some point, we'll probably do a whole podcast on the topic of travel insurance.
Yeah, now that we've used.
But as a sort of very quick, we've used it recently. But as just a sort of quick rundown, I would recommend, if you travel more than like twice a year, consider getting a annual travel insurance policy.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Allianz have one that's called like Allies, I think it's called. Like that's the app we run it through.
Sure.
And we once a year just buy a travel insurance policy that covers everything. So if you travel anytime, anywhere, you don't have to designate where you're going, and it's just like it knows you're traveling anytime in those 365 days, so you're covered. I think like I think like
it makes it easy.
I think some of some of the amounts it won't cover as much as if you buy like a full dedicated policy for one like trip.
Yeah.
But it's enough to cover everything, and especially things like medical emergencies, lost baggage, trip delays, all stuff like that.
Can I interject real quickly? It has nothing to do with travel insurance.
Yeah.
I just want to say, this is not a Yingling. It really looked like a Yingling on camera, and I would have been really mortified if people thought that is what I was drinking. So, no, it's a Varsteiner Dunkel. That is the beer for today. I just wanted to be very clear on that point.
It does look a bit like
I know. I saw it in the screen, and I was like, I can't have people thinking that's what I'm drinking. So, thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah. You're going to get some people probably now being like, what's wrong with Yingling?
I don't care. It's a trash beer. I said what I said.
But, back on topic. Travel insurance, get it, especially if you're traveling. If you don't normally get it when you're traveling over the holidays, because it's an important one.
There's just, over the holidays, there's just more variables.
Yeah.
Especially this year.
Yeah. All right. Next one is connections. So, obviously, not everyone can avoid connections depending on where your home airport is or where you're going. But I would say, like, if you can at this time of year, minimize the amount of connections you have. If you can fly direct, definitely do it. I would pay more. I would do whatever you can to get a direct flight.
And build yourself in buffer time, and that goes with your whole travel itinerary. I understand for a lot of people, it is a 4-day weekend. You are working with a limited timetable, but this is not the time to try and see if you can sprint the length of LaGuardia in 90 minutes. Yeah. Build in those extra connections, especially if you are making connections to those larger airports. We know they're going to be minimizing flights this coming weekend. Just build in that buffer time. Give yourself that extra space. You'll thank yourself later.
Yeah, we know, like, our general rule of thumb is to be like an hour and a half in between flights is generally like
the closest
we do it.
Cut it.
We've done it less than that before. Things didn't go well last time we did it.
Not.
But I would say, like, especially over the holidays, I would give yourself at least 2 hours connection time.
Absolutely.
At least.
Yeah.
Because that way especially if you're based in the US and, just weather in general can delay flights a lot. So even if this is outside of the craziness of air traffic controllers and stuff like that. So if your flight gets delayed by an hour, like that at least means you have an hour to make your connection, which is, because we've even had this when we were flying to, this was actually like last week's podcast, Dubrovnik. We had a long connection time in Frankfurt.
Oh, this is the time we did that, yes.
This was over Christmas. So, well, it was a few days before Christmas, but the weather was really cold. So when we were flying through like Washington or whatever it was, like DC, our flight got kind of delayed. It was, I don't even know if it was delayed taking off, but
we just de-iced the plane.
Yeah, and then like I think it took longer to land or like whatever, and it like wasted so much time that we then had to sprint the length of Frankfurt Airport,
which is a long airport.
It like loops. You have to go down and then go down other ones, and it's a very long airport.
I vividly remember that sprint, and I don't really remember a lot vividly right now.
So like, and if we had a normal kind of connection of like an hour or something that some people would take, we would have missed the flight. Yeah. So just make sure that buffer time is there because it will come in handy. Sure. So, and this is something you can plan for. Do as much as you can to make those buffer times ahead of time, so you don't have to on the fly like stress. All right. Next one. Download the app for your airline. However many airlines you're flying, if you're going on different airlines,
download all of
them because that is the best way for you to get your like
updates.
Update. So you'll get those like you'll get notifications if there's delays. You'll get notifications maybe that like your baggage or whatever. Gate changes, because they're often faster on the app
than the airline announces. Yeah. Sorry, I keep talking over you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And then, and they're also a good resource now for rebooking stuff. So they'll often, if say your flight gets canceled or something, that will generally come through your app. Yeah. And then you have the ability to rebook on your phone. So you don't have to line up in a line of like hundreds of people or whatever at the airport. Like you might be able to just handle it on your phone. Yeah. Which is way better and easier. All right, and I think the last one for planning is, we talked about like when planning like buffer times and stuff at the airport, but also along the same vein, have a less strict itinerary over this time of year, for not like your flight itinerary. I mean like your to-do list on your trip kind of. Yeah. Like having that kind of itinerary be less jam-packed as maybe you would normally do.
This is Ellie.
Sorry, we took a short break because this girl had to go be let back inside.
And now she's part of the podcast. Ellie, you're blocking my face. There we go.
What were we talking about? Less strict itinerary, yeah. So just
this is why we have a less strict itinerary when we record the podcast.
Yeah. But no, so just in general, keep just like maybe don't have your like days as structured as maybe you normally will, because if things do happen, like your flights get delayed, transportation, something happens along the way, you're not like, oh no, I have to like catch a train here now and then do this and that and whatever. Like, or if you do, just make sure it's as sort of flexible as possible. All right, I think that's it for planning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I felt like I didn't have much to contribute to that section because that's
planning's kind of my forte.
Yeah. I would show up 4 minutes before the flight. That's actually not true. I'm as much about getting there early as you are.
Yeah.
So now we're going to transition to like the second bucket of things, which is you've done all the planning, you've got everything, you're ready to roll. It is the day of. Let's talk about actually getting to the airport, getting through security, and just surviving all of that. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we want to talk about is some things just to make that process go a little bit smoother. And the number one thing is TSA PreCheck and also clear.
Mm-hmm. If you're in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. These two things, especially right now, such a lifesaver.
Yeah.
So you might, if you're not familiar with what these two things are, TSA PreCheck is, in case you can't tell by the name, don't laugh at me. It's a federally funded program that you are basically pre-cleared to go through security. You are like Traveler Pro status, essentially. So you keep your shoes on. You don't have to take anything out of your bag. The lines are usually shorter.
Yep.
It's just a streamlined security process to get you through quicker.
Yeah.
Clear is a private company that added on top of TSA PreCheck basically means you skip the security.
Yeah, you can combine them both.
Yeah.
So you can use them even without TSA PreCheck as well. So you can get clear. Yeah. If you get clear without TSA PreCheck, you skip the regular security line and you go to the front of the regular security line. Then you'll have to do the normal like,
security check
stuff. Take things out of your bag or whatever it is.
With Clear, essentially, they have your biometrics on file. They have cleared that you are a safe person. And so you walk up, you say you have Clear, they scan your biometrics. Usually it's your eyes or your fingerprint.
Yeah.
And then they escort you to the front of the line and you right to a TSA officer and you just go right through security.
Yeah. You don't have to get you don't even have to give them your ID and stuff like that.
Nope, you are clear.
Yeah.
To go. So either one of these is great. Them added together basically means you walk right through security. At this time of year, that is a fabulous thing to have.
Yeah, and then I think on the other side, a bonus tip for that is, if you can, I would also recommend, instead of just getting TSA PreCheck by itself, if you can get Global Entry.
If you're flying internationally.
If you're flying internationally, because Global Entry includes TSA PreCheck in the price. So you get one, you get the other. And then that means, so if you're flying internationally, when you come back into the U.S., you get to skip the longer passport and customs line.
Yeah. I will say the thing with global entry is you have to do an interview. So you either have to schedule an interview and go to the airport before you leave and to get the global entry once you get pre-approved, or you can do an interview upon re-entry depending on the airport you come back in at. You just essentially follow, they have signs for it, you just follow the signs when you re-arrive back in the country.
That's what we did.
It is what we did. And they just basically do your interview and then you're good from that point forward.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it yet, you are going to have to do an interview either separately at the airport or when you come back into the country.
Yeah.
So, but once you do it, you're golden.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, yeah, so we got that. Also, this is a kind of an obvious one, but I think it's even more important now, is get to the airport early.
This is not the time to get there 30 minutes before your flight.
No. Like, we are very much always in the camp of what the airport recommends. So, like, 2 hours early for domestic, 3 hours early for international, and we've been known to get there way before that.
Yeah, we love hanging out in an airport.
We actually do enjoy airports most of the time, depending on which ones it is. But in particular, like we quite like our home airport.
Yeah.
And especially like a new airport or a nice one in like a new city or something overseas, we kind of like hanging out and exploring. But so there's cool things to do at the airport, like that can help you be less stressed. But it just builds in, once again, a buffer time that you can, just in case something goes massively wrong, you have that, flexibility to adapt and be like, say TSA is crazy or whatever. But hey, you got there an hour early or whatever, so you're good.
Yeah,
you're
and this year, 2025, I would honestly build in at least, depending on what airport you're flying out of, at least an extra hour upon what the airline or the airport recommends. Because especially if you're flying out of the big ones, so O'Hare, JFK,
Atlanta,
LA, any of the LAX, like any of the Charlotte, any of those big ones, Dallas, Fort Worth, at least an extra hour.
And I know a lot of bigger airports too will also have sort of TSA times and stuff online, so you can do a little bit of research too, where you can find out, hey, what is the situation like at the airport?
Yeah.
And you can sometimes some places even have like cameras and stuff that show it. Like, so do a little bit of research, you might be able to find out. if you do indeed need to get there very early or not.
Yeah.
Because
but just give yourself all the time in the world. It's going to, in the end, pay off and make you less stressed.
Mm-hmm. And we had a situation like that once when we were flying domestically just down to Florida, and our airport is normally very easy and quick, but it there was like a major like rainstorm or something, and it flooded like their power system.
The power system is like ground level or like in the basement or something, and it flooded and blew the generators.
So the entire airport's power was out. So like no one could be checked in, like security didn't work. So everyone was like lining up.
And it was in loops
in the pre-security area and was like, literally looping around the building. But
good times.
As an example though, we were there, I think this flight was like 7 a.m. We were there at like 5 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
We had enough time to get through all of that line.
We got through and made our flight somehow.
I don't think we even had pre-check at that time either.
No,
so,
we didn't. We just got
it just showed that you can face some of these difficulties when you have enough time to.
Yeah, I think our flight wound up being delayed.
I think it might have, but it just was still an example of being there early helped.
Yeah,
right.
For sure, because we were further ahead in the monstrosity. Anyways, so the next thing is something I've had to learn along the way. Grant does it naturally. But I think it's a really important lesson for all travel, but especially this time of year. Take a little extra time. This is either like when you get to the airport, take a second, make sure you have all your things. After you check in, again, take a second, organize your ID, your boarding passes. If you know you're going through security, this is a really great second. Make sure do you have to still take liquids out? I think they changed it. But make sure that kind of stuff is at the top of your bag. If you're bringing electronics like a laptop, make sure that's easily accessible. Take your belt off. If any other metal things off.
Put your phone in your bag.
Put your phone in your bag. All those things, loosen your shoes a little bit. All those things, taking that 3 minutes is just going, because it's just going to make going through security a lot faster, a lot smoother. And there's such an urge once you get checked in to like sprint for that security line. But taking that 3 minutes just to be organized is really going to help you in the long run, because when you get to the point where the nice TSA person is yelling at you to do whatever the things are, you are ready, you are prepared, and you're not that person that looks like it's their first day on planet Earth and being in an airport. So.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, I'm always kind of like this, probably excessively, but yeah, I think that helps. I do that because it makes me not anxious or something that I like lost something or I forgot something or I left the lights on in the car or whatever. Like, there's things I check all the time, and it's because it's slowing down, taking my time. Yeah, it might take 30 seconds longer, but it means you don't then have to backtrack and go grab that like boarding pass you dropped on the ground, or like,
This is not at all based on a real scenario.
Or the water bottle, or your water bottle that you left on the ground in a airport bar.
I feel personally attacked right now. Or my phone that I left on a chair in 3 different airports.
Yeah, take your time, slow down, make sure you got everything and everything's ready.
Don't fight that urge to just sprint to like whatever the next thing is. Just take a moment, because I'm not good at it. Do what he does.
All right, next one is, the gist of it is like, don't be a jerk. And this should be always when you travel, is like, don't be a jerk.
Especially right now, though.
But in particular, this is like, be extra kind at this time of year. And right now, when a lot of these people aren't even getting paid, some of them.
Yeah.
Be extra kind to TSA, the check-in person, the flight crew, everyone you encounter that is like everyone you encounter, even like other passengers, be a little nice. But in particular, the staff, like, they don't want to be there on holidays either, but they are, and they have to deal with this. They
might not be getting paid.
Yeah, so like, be just like a little extra nice. Think about other people around you and what they're going through, because they're probably also in a stressful situation. And a lot of the time when traveling, most people, like especially this time of year, a lot of people are stressed. They're like, they're limited time. They're flying somewhere maybe they don't want to be, or they have to spend time with that I don't know, uncle that they hate or whatever. Like, they're dreading that, or whatever the situation is.
Have a lot going on. You don't know what someone's going through personally. Just be nice. Give a little extra grace. I know flight crews appreciate a little extra like gift or a treat. So if that is your thing, if gifts is your love language, pack them little sweet treats. Just be a little extra nice to people.
Yeah. All right, next one is, if possible. It's not always possible. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't.
Depends.
But try and get access to airport lounges. And if the airport lounge world is unknown to you, or like you think that it's inaccessible, it's not always like that.
It's probably more accessible than you think it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can get in that you might not know of. And yeah, we have this issue where we can get into a lot of lounges thanks to certain credit cards we have. And the one I would generally recommend, it's not for everyone. It is quite expensive to get if you're not a frequent traveler.
Yeah.
But our American Express Platinum card gives us priority pass lounges, it's called. So that is a whole like family of different owned lounges around the world. And you get in just for free if you have this credit card.
Plus the Amex lounges.
Plus the Amex Centurion lounges, which is an Amex
which
specific.
Are generally quite nice.
Yeah, and that makes everything a lot easier because one, you get out of the hustle and bustle of the airport, but you also get like free drinks and food and a quieter space to just relax, and that helps immensely at this time.
The stress,
yeah, because it's. You just don't have to be around as many people at this time of year.
Yep.
So yeah, I would definitely say look into travel credit cards. There are many out there, and some are better than others. In general, just look at what lounge access you can get with certain cards, because it definitely helps a lot.
Yeah.
You can also, in some cases too, we've done this with a couple of airlines that we can't get in with priority pass, is you can often just buy day passes to get in lounges. We've done this often with United, I think, where you can just buy for like $50 or something access, and if they have space and availability, they'll let you just buy a pass.
Yeah.
And so just maybe on the day, if you don't have a credit card that gets you in, think about maybe buying a pass. Some airlines are a lot stricter. Some you can't, but some you definitely can buy day passes. So.
Might be trickier around the holidays.
It could be, but I would just say try.
To try.
Just try.
Yeah.
Like, see if you can get in, or see if you're, you know, your status, or if you're eligible with the type of like seat you booked. If you booked like business class or whatever, it might get you in and things like that. So, airport lounges are great at this time of year.
And last but certainly not least, one last just very holiday specific travel tip is a lot of people will combine Thanksgiving and Christmas or Hanukkah, or if you're thinking about traveling over those holidays and you're going to be bringing gifts, think about how you want to transport those gifts, because don't wrap them before you travel, because TSA might want to unwrap them to see what they are. They want to ruin the surprise. Yeah. So your best options are either one, see if you can ship them if that is possible for you, and just they'll be at your destination when you get there. Or if you need to bring them with you, you plan to wrap them when you get to your destination, or pack them in gift bags instead of just like straight up wrapping them. That way, if TSA does want to go through your stuff, it's not totally ruined.
Yeah.
So just a last little festive travel tip of plan your gift giving in advance, and plan to not have the surprise spoiled by TSA.
Yeah.
I think that's everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That was our little video on how to prepare for this crazy time of year and traveling, where we often get out of here.
So excited for the festive things we're doing, because we are going to Germany next week.
Yeah.
And we're going to be traveling around to a few different cities, and we're going to be going to Christmas markets, having some nice mulled wine, some festive food. It's going to be a good time, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to being cold too. It's weirdly warm here right now. It's still like 70 degrees or something.
November 9th, and I met up with a friend last night, and we were sitting outside at like 8 o'clock at night in short sleeves. It was weird.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some. It might even snow.
Be cold.
It might even snow. I don't know.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be a little cold.
But anyway, thanks so much for watching, listening. This has been another fun podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.